Alright, so Bellanoir Libero without Vampiric. We're running Ferocious instead this time for a little bit more attack power at the cost of a little bit of survivability. So what Vampiric ends up doing if the player is fighting alongside your pal is that if you take Bjorn's health, you take around half of it because the player will deal somewhere around half HP when you're using a maxed out pal like Libero. The survivability that it would add on paper is around 17 to 18,000 health to the pool of your health pool on the pal. So if you remove that like 17,000 health, it's a lot of healing. You're gonna have to keep pal alive through other methods. Pretty much either you could add a healing potion, which is being used in this fight because Libero is gonna be getting up real close and accidentally taking some hits from some random hydro lasers and splashes and stuff like that. So the healing potion will offset that a little bit. So you'll have to do a little bit less withdraw dodging. And then you have to position a little bit as well. And you also need to do a large amount of player damage to actually hold the aggro. Bjorn will focus the pal if you're doing too little damage. So this non-vampiric playstyle, I've always recommended vampiric for tower bosses just because of pals taking aggro, and I'm assuming players might not have like the maxed out legendary gear, but at this point of Faebreak we're almost in Tides of Terraria by now. I'm assuming some of you actually have these legendary weapons and can start doing these tower bosses without relying on your pals tanking too much or accidentally taking aggro. So you could see at the start of the fight I summon my pal, immediately start shooting rockets and missiles, aiming a lot at Bjorn without reloading, and all of that is just to offset my pal taking aggro. I don't want Libero to do more damage than me to Bjorn in those first few seconds. I want to hold the aggro, especially when I'm not using Vampiric. And then just hope that you position, like you have to be aware kind of where your pal is. When using this Rock Burst Airblade build, you kind of want your pal to be in front of Bjorn. But now I'm standing a little bit too close as well. I don't want Bjorn to move, but that double Blizzard Spike, the ring around it kind of touched Libero. Not great. There you saw as well, she accidentally gets clipped by the Glacial Impact jump. And then luckily that freeze kind of made her stand outside the actual explosion. Otherwise, I would have had to withdraw dodge if she didn't get frozen right there. So it's a couple of things to keep in mind if you're not running Vampiric and you're doing this Rock Burst build. Bjorn also damages pals if they get too close to him. Most of the big bosses do. It's kind of like when you're running over Lambos and Chickpeas in the starting area on any sort of mount, really. Big pals, like, they have a little tackle effect, I guess, which tends to damage pals. So it's just some stuff to be aware of, that you're putting your pal in a lot of danger to get rock burst hits, just like the one you saw there. So now Libero is standing close to Bjorn. It's a little bit of a trade-off, me running close to Bjorn as well to try to get him to jump back into Libero. There's a lot of things going on in this fight, which is why when you're talking about what is the best pals, you often get the question like, what is the best? There's a big difference between best in terms of raw DPS and how quick the fight goes, and best as in like how easy the fight is. Like this Rock Burst Airblade combo without Vampiric has a huge peak. Like, it's very strong in terms of DPS, but it's a lot of effort. You see there, moving close to Bjorn, getting him to jump back, trying to keep my pal between me and Bjorn to get him to run into rock bursts, keeping the pal alive with maintaining aggro, all those kind of things. I've been redoing this DPS testing with my pals ever since really discovering the power of rock burst some point in Faebreak. It didn't really feel fair to have those old comparisons with pals not running the rock burst build. But most of the pals in this list, I think every single pal in that list was running Vampiric. So this Libero is the first pal I'm testing without running Vampiric. So it's going to have a little bit of a faster time. But then you might lose some DPS when you actually have to withdraw dodge. I got a little bit lucky with that jump on Glacial Impact actually freezing her. Otherwise I would have had to withdraw dodge her. And then you start to reset the whole aggro thing again. So this is the Libero right here. Running Serenity, I'm not sure how much it actually adds to this particular loop with Flame Funnel, Airblade, and Rock Burst. It works well on Dark pals and Electric pals that don't have a minimum range on their basic skill. But then you can also do the fight. I did it here without Healing Potion. Same Libero again, no Vampiric. And this one is just a little bit easier to execute because I'm running 3 quite long range skills. You will see straight up when the fight starts, Libero will teleport away and use Nightmare Bloom. So instead of using Rock Burst and Airblade with Nightmare Bloom, just because she ends up going so far away, Nightmare Bloom, this is pretty much a build exclusive to Libero, just because her exclusive skill is so strong that you can run it without needing to care about the Rock Burst build. So I just went with Thunderstorm. Wall Splash is a great option, except for the fact that it reduces Flame Funnel's damage when he gets soaked. So that's just not a great combo. So just Thunderstorm, Nightmare Bloom, and Flame Funnel here. But it does deal a huge amount of damage in the first few seconds. You see I actually lose aggro here because I was focusing a bit on that Faebreak Warrior. And that just makes the fight a little bit harder, that she does this huge amount of damage. So it's a bit close. And this is with legendary gear as well, max attack, everything like that. It took me a little bit into the fight to grab that aggro. And if you remember the timing from the last fight, it was 6:31 I think. It's very competitive, this one here. But as mentioned, this is exclusively to Libero just because Nightmare Bloom is that strong. So it's just a little bit easier to execute this build compared to the Rock Burst Airblade build. But it's not something you can really do with a lot of other pals because they don't have a skill like Nightmare Bloom. So that's it for this first video featuring a pal without Vampiric, comparing some tactics against Bjorn. I'm gonna follow it up with a couple of different pals. Some of them will have Vampiric, some won't, but I am redoing some of these fights now that we have discovered the absolute sheer power of the Rock Burst build. So thanks for watching.